Hey, this is Big Skinny with the Podcheck Studio in Fort Worth, Texas. Thanks for tuning in to If Not for Music. We've got a very special guest tonight, all the way from Adelaide, Australia. That's Southern Australia, and he is with the Hindley Street Country Club.
Living makes you give in and cry. See, live and let die. That's the way you do it. Money for nothing and your chicks for free. That ain't working. That's the way you do it.
Well over 850,000 subscribers at this time, with millions and millions of views on YouTube. They have 305 videos uploaded at this time. We're going to sit down with founder and producer Con Delo. It's all coming your way on this episode of If Not for Music. Hey, y'all, this is Big Skinny with the Podcheck Studio in Fort Worth, Texas, and you're watching If Not for Music, and we have a very special guest with us tonight. He's with the Hindley Street Country Club. He is the founder and producer of the Hindley Street Country Club, and if you guys haven't seen any of this group's videos, you're really missing out. These guys have millions and millions of views on YouTube. They have over 850,000 subscribers at this time, and I think I counted 304 videos that you guys have out. Is that correct?
Hey, Kenny, and hey to everyone in America, and especially in the great state of Texas.
Have you ever been to Texas, Con?
Well, I haven't, but I've had a lot of inquiries from individuals out of Texas wanting us to come and do shows there, and none of them have just panned out just 100%. But I think it's only a matter of time. Texas, next to California, Vegas, and Florida, is our biggest American market. Can't wait to get there. Really, I just want to come there and eat ribs.
Yeah, that's our specialty here. That's one of the things I do. Is I love to cook outside. Cooking outdoors.
Fantastic.
It's a lot of fun. Barbecue is a big thing here in Texas. What is it like in Australia for the barbecue?
It's like it's a rite of passage for most men, but not like no one barbecues like the Americans, especially the Texans. So we're all chomping a bit to have some beers and some ribs.
Yeah, we do love our ribs. I just had some ribs today, as a matter of fact. I had some barbecue today for lunch. We have a little barbecue shack down the street from my full-time job, and we eat there quite often. But
what's a barbecue shack?
It's just a little barbecue place. We just call it a little barbecue restaurant. It's just a little shack. Really friendly owners. They do a great job with their barbecue. But you come to Texas, I'll take you for some ribs, man.
Oh man, ask us twice.
So tell me, how did you guys get started in this? I know that it blew up a lot bigger than what you ever thought it would blow up.
It did. We I basically put together just some players that I knew that were good players, strong players, and just recorded some well-known tunes. And then I used to really muck around with the arrangements a lot, change them up here and there. I still do that, and that's what probably is the point of difference with HSCC. But it started out quite innocuously, just doing some songs and putting it out on YouTube. We did it every week, and then one week became 2, 4, and 8. And then COVID hit, and all of a sudden there were a lot of people at home, Kenny. And there's only so much work you can do from home when you're locked in. And some of our COVID restrictions here in Australia were just awful, unnecessarily awful. So what ended up happening is we released songs every week, and I was certainly catering to a certain demographic. And it was that, 45 to 65. And it started out very yacht rocky, but for any of our fans, they will know that the overwhelming majority of our songs are American. That's the American music culture and history is what has affected me musically more than anything else. So everything was going along, and we were putting songs out here and there, nothing much. They would just get some, like every other band on YouTube or project on YouTube. Your views are a bit sporadic, some good, some not so good, just depending. But then we released just the two of us, and then Bill Withers passed away about 2 weeks later. So that combined with his passing and people searching songs of his. And then the song just went mad. It's like it just went crazy. And then I just thought, as a result, because we picked up all these new fans, they then went back through some of our earlier stuff and stayed on. And I hate to use the term viral, but HSCC went viral. Like, you know, because you don't think that happens to young people, you know?
Yeah.
I put a video of their cat online doing a somersault when it gets 30 million views, you know, whereas our age group is a little bit more discerning. So it wasn't until my daughter said to me, she said, you know, Dad, she said, you guys have got a lot of views. And I went, well, what do you mean, baby? She said, well, you got like, you know, 100 million views. I said, is that good, is it? And only then it dawned upon me that, you know, we were onto something, even though I was getting told by all and sundry that it's great, it's popular, but you don't really think. I'm so deep in it, Kenny, that I don't see the forest for the trees. And then sometimes you know, I'm a head down, backside up kind of guy, just work, and then got no time to look around, you know. And sometimes you come up for air and say, geez, man, that really is a lot of views, and we've affected a lot of people in many positive ways.
Well, so, I think it affects you in a positive way too, because if I'm watching that video of you playing the bass guitar, it looks like you're having a blast. I mean, you're just bouncing around, and that's what it looks like. You're having a blast doing it.
Kenny, it's a gift from God himself to be at my age and be musically relevant, and for all the guys in the band too, to actually be musically relevant again. You know, we're all, with the exception of Jordan, he's the baby of the project. He's 28 or something. You know, myself, Danny, Brad, Dave, they're all, you know, we're men in our 50s. Danny and I are grandfathers. So
when you say 50s, how far into your 50s are you?
I'm 56.
All right, man. Me too. I'll be 57 in October.
Then we have to have ribs.
We'll have some celebratory ribs.
Celebratory.
That's like I gotta go to Australia and get me some shrimp on the old Barbie.
Yeah, that's overrated.
So how did you get started in music?
I started playing drums initially, and then I just, for some reason, you know, I'm a firm believer that things in life call you. You think that you're in control, or you're not. It calls you. So music called me, and I went with it. And then I went, for some reason, I just gravitated to bass. I don't even know why. But then started playing bass like you do as a young guy, really hungry, and you're working gigs around town. And back then I was doing, you know, 6-7 gigs a week. And then because I didn't want to stay in the same town my whole life, I then made forays into China and the Middle East. And so I took bands all over the world, organizing them and playing in them. And I believe that in the big picture was a big part of HSCC's success. Was I played so many songs in so many different countries to so many different people from all over the world. I had a fair idea of what people wanted to listen to, rather than doing what other online bands do. They just throw a song out there with no integrity whatsoever, just trying to get views. I think the minute you do that, you're finished. You've got to keep the integrity. And so doing all those thousands and thousands of gigs, like I said, has shaped the repertoire of HSCC for sure. And I've just always worked, Kenny, you know, always worked.
You know what it's like? What is it like going into these other countries where, you know, say English is not their language, and you're singing these songs and you're getting a reaction from these fans? You know, maybe they don't even understand what you're singing, but they love the songs.
Dude, I'll tell you, that's a great question. If I ever have to play Hotel California again, it won't be a day too soon. Like, I've been in China where they can't speak the language. This is back in the 90s when a lot of them were still wearing the Chem and Mao outfits, getting around on bikes, you know. And I spent a few years in China working for the Hard Rock Cafe. Couldn't speak English, but I tell you, they knew every word and every note of the solo in Hotel California. And because they're guests, they come up the front and they'd say, can you play Hotel California? So you play, and there were times I was playing it 5 and 6 times a night. And that thing's a 7-8 minute opus, you know. It's like, oh, they know they're a lot more conversant about Western music than we are about theirs.
That's very, very interesting. But like I said, I've heard a Spanish version of or a Mexican version of Hotel California. Yeah. You know, and if I didn't know the lyrics, you know, I would be like, well, I love this song. It sounds great, but I have no idea what it means.
Correct.
But it's really cool to be able to stand in front of all these people, all these different countries, and sing.
Hmm.
So
I've done gigs to the Chinese. I've done gigs in the Middle East to Arabs. I've done gigs to the Indians, all over the place, Japanese, and they know it, man. They know it. Songs like that, songs like big songs of their day, especially the 70s and 80s stuff that people that are there now my age grow up on it. And well, they're the ones that can afford to go out and buy a ticket to see our shows in a lot of those countries.
How many different dialects are there in Australia as far as like when you guys go out to tour? Just one primary English and that's it?
Yeah, we only sing in English. We've recorded a couple of songs, one in Portuguese, like just a little bit of a song in Portuguese that Belinda sang. But that's about it, really. We're effectively a bunch of Aussies playing the best of your music.
Yeah, you guys had some great music too. I mean, there's a lot of great bands come from Australia. Little River Band was a great one.
Yeah, yes, Little River Band, In Excess, Men at Work,
Midnight Oil.
Midnight Oil.
They were from there. I mean, that's just you had a lot of great music come from there.
Yeah, we do. Our music culture back then is steeped in live gigs. All those bands like In Excess, Midnight Oil, who else would say Air Supply did a lot of gigs here in pubs and clubs and honed them. So by the time they got to the States, there weren't like a lot of American bands that don't really do a lot of gigs, but get signed off the strength of a good song, hit the road, and they're not really road sharp. You know what I mean? We're Australian bands, that's not like that. So,
you're watching your videos and it seems like every video you've got a different lead singer. How do you guys decide who's going to sing lead for what song?
I pick all the players and pick the songs and the arrangements and the production and the singers. So what I do is, depending on what song we're doing, is dependent on who I use. But I've used a lot of singers, some that I won't use anymore and some that I'll continue to use, some new ones that are coming in, because there's a misunderstanding that some people think that HSCC is a band. It's actually not a band at all. It's a project. It's a guild. It's a collective of musicians that I bring in and out. But that means when you've got so many different people, you can't take the whole lot of them out on the road because it'd be cast of thousands. So I've got a touring lineup, and then I've got a recording lineup that depending on the songs. So we've got some songs coming out. This week we're releasing a foreigner song, and it's a real rocker. So I bring Danny in for that. If I've got something that's more female orientated, then I've got, Kat or Belinda currently, or if it's something like the Phil Collins one we did last week, Jordan, that requires a real high range. I'm very fortunate that not only can all these guys sing and that they're local and available, but they're really talented people.
Who is the gentleman that sang the lead on the David Coverdale song, the Whitesnake song?
That's Danny Lepresto.
That dude's voice. I mean, when I heard his version of that song, I'm like, man, that's freaking spot on.
Yeah, he can sing his ass off. He really, really can.
That guy is really good.
He's a real chameleon because he can sing anything from smooth yacht rock right up to the harder stuff. Like when he sang, we did a version of The Who's Who Are You the other week.
Yeah, that was great. Just heard that.
Yeah, man, I was just getting inundated with people saying, man, the guy can sing anything. And then you got someone like Jordan doing, Live and Let Die, which requires, a range but a lot of it's delivery. But what you said earlier on is exactly right. I don't think I've ever done one session of the 300 plus, or whatever it is thereabouts, and even the live gigs where everyone isn't just happy to be there. They're happy to be there. And now because it's got so big, Kenny, I've got a real long list now of people that call me regularly. They'd love to come and sing with that. And some of them are like a well-known names too, like established names here in Australia. So it's a really good problem to have.
That's awesome.
It is. And we're blessed. We really are.
So the version you guys did of Layla, I know you changed your arrangements up, but one of the things I love that you guys did on that at the very end of that, how you put the fuzz on those guitars and just fuzzed them out. Yeah. I thought, man, that gave me goosebumps.
Yeah.
That freaking gave me goosebumps when I heard that. I'm like, that's just a different touch, a different spin on that song.
Yeah. And that's what I'm trying to do is not take away too much from the song, but I like to tip my cap and pay respect to the song. And I just like put a modern twist on it. And the weird thing is, if you were to go and see Clapton do that song, and he uses like the creme de la creme of musicians, they play that song out on the road, 3 or 4 nights a week for 6, 7 months. They change it up. They'll change a chord here and there. They have some fun with it, and that's all that we really do. But on that track, Dusty that sang that track really, really brought it too. He just had that. He had that voice that track required, and probably one of HSCC's greatest strengths is that I've been fortunate enough to get the right people to sing the right song. So I listened to Dusty singing that song, and when we recorded it, we knew it was. Sometimes when you record these songs, Kenny, you just know that there's something about them that just, this one feels good. There's something different about this one as opposed to the rest. And Dusty brought it. Then we had the 3 guitars, all playing a Strat, and the harmony bit at the end, and there's that beautiful, the piano bit, the interlude at the end. It's like out of the scene of Goodfellas, I think, the final scene that really, it's, oh yeah, man. And yet that song doesn't make our live rap.
Wow.
Should.
Yep, should. That's a great song.
Yeah. But then
so
you got
guys,
300 great songs, and then which ones do you pick?
Yeah. You guys are starting your tour. You're starting a tour this weekend, right? You're heading out on tour?
We fly out tomorrow. Yeah. We fly out tomorrow.
So how long are you guys going to be on the road?
It's only a short one. I think we're at 5 weeks we're out. We're in Western Australia on Saturday night. It's great that the first night of the tour is a sellout, which is great. Then we fly across the country to Melbourne. It's like you're going Sydney, like going LA to New York. It's coast to coast. So yes, we're fortunate. And then I'm currently dealing with some overseas people at the moment. There's a real big push currently to get us over to you guys.
Well, we'd love to have you. What is the cultural difference between Northern and Southern Australia? Is there any kind of?
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, Northern Australia is tropical. So, and it's like, it's just tropical. It's hot and humid. Southern is colder, but in terms of the culture, it's very, very laid back up the north, super laid back. And that's because it's a heat thing. And then in the south, that's where the bigger cities are, Melbourne, Sydney, and that's a bit more cultural, a lot of high rise, not unlike any other country.
So have you been accepted pretty widely in the northern part of your country?
Yes, we are so blessed that, see, in Australia, it's the hardest place to get accepted. Everyone goes away, like Air Supply, like In Excess. In Excess were popular, but when they broke America, they came back here and it was crazy. So Australia's a bit, they're not the first to embrace you. Like Australia's only 2.4% of our market, Kenny. So it gives you an indication of how we are around the rest of the world.
Well, that ought to tell you that the people are really wanting to see you. I personally, I've been in radio for a long time, and I was never really a huge cover band guy. I've saw some great Beatle cover bands, and I've seen a lot of cover bands over the years because we'd go to have to bring people on stage and that whatever. But you guys, y'all bring it to a different level. Y'all bring the whole thing to a different level. I'm not just looking at a cover band. I'm looking at artists. I'm looking at musicians. I'm looking at singers, and songwriters, because you're putting your own spin on it. You're not just singing the song, you're not doing a karaoke version of it. You guys are putting your own spin on it.
There's plenty of those kinds of people online. We've got a few here in Australia. They're just the cruise ship, I don't. I refuse to do that. If you're going to copy a song note perfect, why not? As a viewer, why not just listen to the original?
Right. That's kind of the way I feel. I a lot of these times I bring these artists on, this show, and I'm like, I'm not going to ask them the same old questions over and over again that everybody else is asking them, because they can go somewhere else and get those questions answered. Yeah. So you got to be a little different.
I agree. I mean, I get a lot of requests for shows like yours. I probably get one every 10, 12 days. You come on the show and rah. And when I got your message, I did a bit of digging, and I thought, hey, this guy is meaning you is very, you're our kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? There's a lot of integrity in your show and what you do and how you do it.
Well, I enjoy that. I look at people as people. I don't. Everybody puts their pants on one leg at a time, and we want to be treated like people. That's kind of the way I look at. I'm not gonna you know, I can respect you for your work, and you can respect me for my work, but that don't mean you have to hold me to a high standard just because, you know, you're a popular guy or I'm a popular guy, or whatever. I want everybody to be treated as equal. You know what I mean?
I agree. I totally agree.
Everybody is a human. You know, we treat everybody with respect. Speaking of humans, who was some of your favorite influences growing up in music?
Earth, Wind and Fire, Toto.
That's my favorite of all time.
Oh man, yeah, Toto. A lot of Benson. I grew up more on the black soul stuff, the real groovy stuff like that. A lot of the LA, that era of 78 to 84, you know, that whole session band era, the yacht rock era. That's the stuff that I really dug. That's what, and a lot of Al Jarreau.
So I've been really fortunate over the years. I've met a lot of these guys that I grew up listening to, and it's always, you know, I look back when I was a kid, and my very first album that I think I ever bought as a child was England Dan and John Ford Coley. You familiar with them?
No.
Yeah, check out some of that 70s rock. They're really good. They're really good. But anyway, so that was like the very first thing I ever bought, and you know, years down the road, here I am sitting with this guy, talking with him, chatting with him, you know,
Right.
I'm like, yeah, I'm like, who would have ever thought that, you know, if somebody had told me that years ago, you know.
You raise a really interesting point there, because I'm a big believer in faith and serendipity and destiny, and everything that you did say 30 or 40 years ago, Kenny, has led you to where you are today. And nothing happens inconsequentially. It just doesn't. And had you said to me 30, 35 years ago, I'd be playing the songs that I want to play for once, as opposed to having to play songs that people want to hear when you're out in the pubs and clubland. And here we are, you know, 35 years later, whatever it is, you know, 40 years later, and I'm playing the stuff I want to play and getting a lot of times kudos from the actual people themselves who I grew up listening to, saying, hey man, love your version of my song. And that's really, it's really, really gratifying. Like, it's really gratifying.
That is great when these guys are calling you, these artists are calling you saying they really like your version of it. That is the most gratifying thing there's got to be, man.
Yeah, it really is. You know, I got a message from as a bass player. You know, you've got your half a dozen guys that have shaped who you've played. You know, and one of those guys for me, because of the stuff that he played on, was Lee Sklar, and he wrote to me on just 3 or 4 days. I was sitting on the lounge, or you guys call it the couch, sitting on the couch, and man, I get this message coming. He says, "Big thumbs up from Lee Sklar for this Phil Collins track we did last week." I was like, I thought one of those guys that, you know, they're shitting you, saying, "Oh, they put their own handle," but it was actually him, and I was like, "Wow!" Like, thought to myself, it was a bit surreal. I watch everything this guy does. You know, I've followed his career. He's one of the half a dozen guys that, life's got a real weird way of sorting you out, I think. And at that moment, you read those things, or when Christopher Cross wrote to us and said, "Great job on my song." When we did "Ride Like the Wind," he loved, because we changed the chords in it and mucked around with the arrangement, things like that. And, you know, Mick Fleetwood said we were called us Simply Fabulous, and Russell Hitchcock from Air Supply paid a really nice compliment. There's Patti Smythe. Who else is it? It has been a lot of them.
That's awesome, man.
And you think, Kenny, because you're recording somewhere, like we record at the moment. If we're not in a studio, we record on the dance floor of a big club in Adelaide, here in South Australia. We actually record on the dance floor, and you're recording on the dance floor. You're not thinking you're doing anything. Like, you're playing a track and it's great, and you're hoping that the public will like it. And then you realize later, like, there's a lot of people watching the stuff that are really quite influential, but you don't know it until they pop their head up and say, hey. So it's the reach can never be understated, you know?
You know, that's the whole gamble with music, the whole music industry. There's a lot of guys that have put out music thinking this is going to be the hit record, and it doesn't do anything. And then they got one song that, you know, they didn't even want to put that song out, and that's the one that made it big.
That is fantastic that you say that. And let me tell you why. When we're recording, you know, I think to myself, you know, this song, I think this song's going to do really, really well. And no, it doesn't.
Crickets.
Crickets, yeah. And then you'll do something that you think, well, that's nice. You know, it's just, it'll be another one in the catalog. And it just goes boom. You just don't know.
Just the two of us. Great tune. I love the version you guys did. In fact, it was one of those ones I was listening to and gave me the goosebump factor of 10. The guy did a really good job, but
yes.
Would you have thought that would have been the one that would like lit the whole thing up?
No way.
Yeah. I mean, there's a million tunes out there that people would have thought, well, that would be the one that would be the showstopper.
Yeah.
But
I'm finding with our market currently, Kenny, if we do some British stuff like Live and Let Die or Phil Collins or The Who, or even some of the 80s stuff like Duran Duran, because we run the whole gamut, it does okay. It does okay. But it's that American stuff that HSCC is known for. That's the stuff that works.
I feel like some Def Leppard would do you some good, man.
Yeah, but I'm concerned, and that's an interesting point. I thought about doing some Def Leppard, but it's because they're such an iconic band, they've had so many massive iconic hits. I kind of feel, unless you've got all the poodle rock hair going on and stuff, you're going to get, because they've got very loyal fan bases.
Oh yeah,
and we did a version of a Kiss song, and you got to be real careful because in the threads you get a lot of people like get hating on you. How dare you do a rearrangement of this song? It's not like the original. You're not Paul Stanley. You're not, you know.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
There's a lot of trolls.
You got those haters with any kind of thing you do.
Oh.
Who cares if you're not Paul Stanley? Who cares if you're not Gene Simmons? You're out there having a good time, man.
Kenny, the loudest boos come from the cheapest seats. And when they get so invested that they hang dirt on you or try and make you feel like, or their comments that you're not this, you're not that, man, you're just living rent free in their head. That's all.
Yeah. Just let it go, roll off for you like water on the duck's back. You know, it ain't no big thing. What about Dreamweaver, Gary Wright? That'd be a great one.
Good song. That's definitely in our wheelhouse.
That's a great tune right there. And man, he just passed away here this last weekend. It's very sad. Wow. And I tell you, man, I got a story about him. I did an interview with him several years back, probably around 2009, 2010. And he had a new album coming out, and I had sent him a request like 2-3 weeks ahead of time, say, hey, if you got something new, let me know so I can make sure we promote it. Because it was back before the days of being able to just download music on the fly.
Yeah,
I mean, if you wanted music, you had to go to like Napster or something and try to download something illegally, you know. Yeah, but back in the day. So anyway, I got him on the line. We had him on the line for about 10 minutes, and when he found out we couldn't get his new album up, he hung up on me. That's my Gary Wright story.
What?
He hung up on me.
What?
Yeah, he just hung up the phone on me, man. Dropped the line on me because I didn't have his new album. Or I wasn't able to promote it.
Really?
Yeah, and I said, hey man, can you send it to me? 2 weeks before, and nothing. Yes. Crickets, got nothing. Got nothing, man. And then on the day of the interview, he's like, he gets on the phone. He says, hey, do you have my new album? I'm like, dude, I didn't even know you had a new album. This was 2010. I'd been following him real closely. He hadn't done nothing in a long time, so I wasn't like, just like knew he had something new out. But he had something new out, and I didn't know about it. And he hung up on me when he found out I couldn't play it. So that's always going to be a little friendly story, but it was that's the chances you take. But like I said, I enjoy what I do. It's a lot of fun. Sometimes you run into some people that are very arrogant and cocky because of what they've done before in the past, but
only as good as your last gig, Kenny.
Yeah. You just roll with it, man. So you got a video coming out this weekend, Friday, or actually
it'll be out. Well, by this time tomorrow it'll be out. Yeah, it'll be out this tomorrow.
Some Foreigner. Do you know what's the name of the song?
We've reworked It Feels Like the First Time.
Oh, great tune.
Yeah.
Great tune.
Yeah. Danny's really delivered on it.
So you guys, y'all got any new albums coming out? Are you going to put out any original material?
No, we won't go down the original path. That's a whole other animal. It's a whole other animal. You're going to get people that I look at it this way. if everyone stays in their lane, then there's no accidents.
Yeah, that's true.
People start veering off into lanes that they shouldn't be in. That's when accidents happen, and that actually forms part of why HSCC is what it is. When people can't stay in their own lanes, accidents happen. So
you guys you're living in your lane right now. Then
that is my lane at this age. With the guys that I've got, we're not here to reinvent the wheel. What you think? I look at it this way. So we do an original song. Let's say it's a good one. And like we said earlier, it doesn't even have to be good because that's what doesn't decide what works anyway. What I think, maybe not someone else. So let's say it's a good song and it does well. And then what? You're going to be touring. You won't be touring, at the level you can tour at the HSCC tours to promote something for, nah.
Yeah, one song.
I'll leave that to the younger people. We play on other people's albums and projects. Do plenty of that. I'm happy to give my expertise and my experience on that, but no.
So it sounds like you've been down that road before. You got experience down that road before.
It's not that I've had experience in it. I've just literally everyone that I've worked with, everyone has tried the original thing, and I fooled around with it in my early 20s, but that's a real hard slog. And what people don't realize is that a number one song, even back then, Kenny, when we were younger, a song wasn't written and it went to number one. The cold hard facts of the music business is that those songs, they're engineered to number one.
Yeah. By manipulating record sales and this, that, and the other. Man, I've heard stories in the past about certain albums where they had crates and crates of albums stacked in warehouses just to make it look like they sold millions of records.
Not only that, people think that, the Britney Spears of this world, and they're manufactured. Those songs are written and they're designed and they're planned and organized to go to number one before they've even got the person to sing it.
Yeah. That's a sad fact of our music business. And that's why it's so cutthroat.
It is. And, the problem is that music is 99% business and 1% music. The music industry is like selling hamburgers. It's just a product for them. It's the people like ourselves that are artists and love music. We romanticize it. It's the music business must be one of the most unromantic businesses in the world because, like you said, it's cutthroat.
So many artists I've talked to over the last few years are so glad that they've gotten away from the record companies. They're in charge of their own destiny. They can put out what they want to put out. They can release the records they want to produce, and, they're free to release whatever single they want to release.
Well, that was the whole, Prince and George Michael issue, just not owning their masters. It's just, I look at it this way. We release a song every Friday, brother. We've not missed one in almost 6 years now. Next month, it'll be 6 years that November will be 6 years that we've not missed a Friday ever. Well, Thursday night, your time. And if a song makes a little bit of money off of YouTube and so forth, that's great. But the overwhelming majority, the lion's share of any money that comes down from ad revenue goes to the songwriter, as it should.
That's good.
As it should.
Well, brother, I tell you, I appreciate what you're doing. I enjoy what you're doing. I know there's millions of people that enjoy what you're doing because you're getting all those views. You're doing it for something, man. And what I really appreciate is you're appealing to the age group that I'm in, because that is, to me, is where the best music was. Everybody keeps going back to it.
New music is old music.
Yeah. Everybody keeps going back to the 80s, 70s, and 80s music. So I'm digging it, man.
Thanks, Kenny. I really appreciate that. But I've got to tell you, it's of all the places in America that we're popular, and I get all the analytics and graphs of where we're popular in America, man, I've got to tell you, Texas is where we really, really want to get to ASAP. Been very, very close a couple of times, very close.
Well, all I got to say is if you get down in this area, you got my phone number. You know how to give me a call. We'll meet up. Yeah, I'll show you where all the good places are around here anyway.
Indeed.
Cowtown, baby. You got to come to Fort Worth. Fort Worth, that's where it's happening. Stay away from Dallas, stay away from Houston, come to Fort Worth.
Fort Worth it is.
Take care, brother.
Thank you, Kenny, to all your listeners. I'm glad that they're supporting your great, great show.
Me too. I appreciate you coming on today, man. Have a good
Thank
night.
you,
And y'all be safe on your tour. Okay.
Indeed. Thank you.
Take care, brother.